is a program that comes your way every Mondays and Wednesdays on Citizen at 3.7 FM Abuja from 1 to 2 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays only. We get to talk about lifestyle, family, relationship, health, education, basically everything that has to do with women. That's what we discuss on this program. My name is Aisha Shoaib Badegi.
And I am Esther, but you can call me your mini celebrity.
Esther, are you cold?
Yes,
This sun outside, are you cold?
The sun is hot outside, right? But inside the studio is chilled.
So today we'll be having an honest and much needed conversation about sex education. Now, before you raise your eyebrows, just calm down. Calm down. You're listening to me somewhere at home, in the car, at your office, just somewhere listening to me right now. Let me ask you, how much do you really know about sex education?
Right.
Now, many Nigerian parents shy away from discussing it, leaving children to learn from unreliable sources like peer groups, social media, or even, pornography.
Yeah.
Now, this silence has consequences, high teenage pregnancy rates, sexually transmitted diseases and infections, and, sexual abuse. Today, we'll break down the myth, the highlights, and, the importance of sex education and share practical ways to educate young people responsibly. That's what we'll be discussing on this show. Sex education is more than just talking about intercourse. It includes understanding puberty, consent, reproductive health, and even internet safety. In Nigeria, misconceptions about sex education makes many believe it promotes immorality, but research shows otherwise.
Okay.
Now, for example, in countries like Netherlands, where comprehensive sex education is introduced early for children, teenage pregnancy rates are among the lowest in the world. I mean, in that country, in Netherlands. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, 2022 UNICEF reports reveal that 44% of girls are married before age 18, often due to unplanned pregnancies. The truth is, knowing, this knowledge doesn't, encourage anything. It's too high. The number is quite high, but it empowers young people to make informed choices when they are aware of, all of these things. It's, help them make the right choices. So let's take a moment to reflect on real life stories that show why sex education is, critical in the society. Let's use this story and about a girl that is 15 years old in secondary school from Enugu State, got pregnant because she didn't understand how conception happens. She believed that the myth that drinking salt water after intercourse prevent pregnancy, and without proper sex education, she became mother before she could finish school. So girls having children, as a small girl, also recently having, your own child without even knowing your own right and wrong, and then you're already a mother. And then another one, let's look at the 19-year-old university student, who contracted an STI, that's a sexually transmitted infection or disease, because he never learned about sex safe. Safe sex. Yeah, so his parents never discussed sex, and in schools the topic was either ignored or treated as a taboo. Now, there's a lot going on about this. The third one that we'll be looking at is consent and sexual abuse awareness. Now, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, 1 in 4 Nigerian girls experience sexual violence before age 18.
Right.
Many victims don't even realize they've been abused because they were not taught about body, consent and all of that. So these stories show the dangers of ignorance. By providing sex education, we can protect our youth from these risks. Now, let's start with sex education. Consent. I saw a video on social media that I was super proud I watched. A 3-year-old girl where the mom was, trying to teach her daughter the good and bad parts that you touch in her body, that she should, raise an alarm once it happens.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something that every parent out there should be able to do for their parents, for their children. Now, you have a child as young as 3 years old, because what the kids of nowadays, what they know is beyond what you think they know. It's not like us that when you say sit down here, you sit.
Yeah.
And but then now when you say sit down here, they're so inquisitive. They want to move
Yeah.
and see why you're asking them to sit down. What is there? What are you trying to hide? Why should they actually sit? They want to see everything. So I feel like parents, need to do better in terms of the way we, try to create awareness for our children, try to enlighten them on sex education. As small as a 3-year-old girl, you need to let her know that when she's touched in a particular place, it's not normal. When she's been hugged and then hugging her and trying to smoosh her around and all of that, she should know that it's not normal. When you try to touch some of her private parts, as young as 3 years old is, she should be able to voice out and identify. I feel like those things are really important. And that's what parents should be able to do these days. But Esther, let's hear you.
It is of a fact, right, that sex education is a conversation that a lot of Nigerian parents do not engage in it. And I get that children are innocent,
Right.
until you expose them to certain things. But then again, I also understand that to be forewarned is to be forearmed,
No.
right? And in a society where you cannot totally control who appears in the environment of your child, it is important, right, to educate them about sexualities and every other thing revolving around sex and private areas and comfortable touch and uncomfortable touch,
Right.
and functions of different body parts. It's very important. Now, I'm not going to be speaking as a girl now. I'm going to be looking at it from the male angle. And this is the reason. A lot of time we pay attention more to the girls. And a lot of times, so many parents forget the boys. When you see people talking about educating people sexually, a lot of people just goes to, oh, the girls need this education. Of course, girls do need it. But the boys need it more. Right? And there's a lot of ignorance that goes with not knowing that. Do you realize that there's not a lot of accountability attached to a boy child when it comes to his sexuality? In fact, nobody finds it strange. Most people, don't find it strange if they find that a 15-year-old boy is already involved in his sexual acts. And that is not even supposed to be a norm. He's still a child, right? So why is it okay for him to be involved in sexual activities? A small boy. As we pride in having virgin girls, why can't we be proud of having virgin boys? It's a conversation we barely have.
Right.
A lot of parents pay attention to the girl should not do this. I remember I told you about my first menstruality. I never knew what it was. At the age of 12, I didn't know. Right? I wasn't told. And then it took a neighbor understanding that I was trashing something like almost every minute. And I caught the attention of my family, and that's when they knew that, oh, I've gotten to that stage. Meanwhile, if I'd known earlier, I would have known that, okay, he's finally here, and this is what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And it goes to go with so many. A lot of boys have not been able to have this proper conversation with their parent. Okay, I'm in secondary school now, I have a girl that I'm crushing on, and boom, they're having sex. And boom, there's pregnancy, and all hell loses on the girl. But nobody cares about the boy. Nobody's asking, was he aware of what he was doing? Does he know that he has gotten to the stage where he can get someone pregnant? Does he know that there are things called protective use, like condoms and the rest? Valid conversations. Even a lot of boys get raped by aunties, by teachers, by stepmothers and co. But nobody talks about it. In fact, it's a conversation that nobody will have. Because so that is why you find it difficult for a boy will come and open his mouth and tell you that I was raped. In fact, his fellow boy will ask you, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? How can a woman rape you? So in sex education, there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of unhad conversations. There's a lot of taboo-ness, in certain conversations that parents will not want to have with their kids, especially the male. You find out that kids these days, I mean, they call them the Gen Alphas, right? You find out these days that they are wiser than you would have thought they would be at that age. Because, I mean, at that age, you were so innocent and you didn't know anything. But give a child a phone right now. The kind of things that a child is having access to, it's not things you were privileged to at his or her age. So it's the difference in time. So because the times are different, it means that we have to treat a lot of conversations very sensitively. We have to not ignore the importance of letting a child know that, oh, at a certain age, you should not be involved in this. At a certain age, if someone promises you heaven and earth just to take advantage of you, be it a boy or a girl, don't do it. Come and talk to your parents. And if your kids finally have that courage to talk to you about certain things, don't shut them up and say, oh, it's family, you should not go outside. Because those are other things that would make your child not to have certain conversations with you. When a child is abused by a family member and you tell the child to shush, don't allow outsider hear it. He's your uncle, he's your auntie, she's your auntie. If another person hears it, it's a disgrace upon our family. Tell me, how much confidence can that child have in his or herself growing up? It means anybody can throw anything at the child and the child will take it. After all, the number one people that are going to protect him or her are not even doing it. So the conversation of sex education, it's something that is barely talked about in our societies, in our religious gatherings, in our immediate family that is supposed to be our number one institutions of learning. It is something we wait for. We believe that as they are growing, they will know. Happens only when a girl is ready to get married. I don't know if you understand.
And even at that, it's not all families actually do that.
Exactly. The major conversations that your mom will never have with you, she will not have it with you when you're about to get married and start telling you of how important it is in your marriage. You didn't tell me all of this before. You get? And then all of a sudden, I just have to brainwash my brain to know that, okay, it's fine. To just go with it.
So it's actually very important for parents to,
have that conversation
start age-appropriate conversations with their children. For example, like I said, teach a 3-year-old about body parts and personal boundaries, parts that anybody touch, she should be able to raise an alarm. You can also teach a 10-year-old boy or even a 9-year-old about puberty and, teenagers about safe sex and healthy relationships, because it's only normal. These things are, bound to happen. Growing up, they want to experience experiment all of these things. Then in terms of the school, I feel like it's comprehensive sex education should be included in the curriculum in terms of schools, covering reproductive health, consent, and even hygiene. These things are very important. Then let's go to religious and community leaders, religious leaders and community leaders. Many fair sex education contradict cultural or even religious values in their communities. But knowledge doesn't promote immorality at all. There's no knowledge that promotes immorality. It prevents harm. Religious leaders can help by framing discussions around respect, dignity, and responsibility for their children, for the children in a particular community, and then this would help. They should be able to have dramas and a lot of experiences that they would learn from. Good stories. Don't frame stories like we were told that once you allow a man touch you, you get pregnant, and all of that, and then when you drink salt water, you don't get pregnant and all of that. There should be real stories that they would relate with, because like we said, the children nowadays they think entirely different from the way we do.
Yes.
And they have their own mind. Anything you say, don't do, that's exactly what they want to experiment. That's exactly what they want to try out. Also, media roles, just like we're doing now in this program, programs like this can help raise awareness, in TVs, in radios, and even on social media, to promote factual judgments, free discussions on sex educations. I'm emphasizing on factual, judgments, and, to avoid, because, for example, someone has already made a mistake. A little child has already made a mistake. She didn't get the sex education she needed at home, and unfortunately, she got pregnant. I think the ideal thing to do is to actually support her and try to, help her through that period and not make her feel less of herself, or, and all of that. Because some parents, once they notice anything like that happens to their children, she'll be the one they'll be using as example to every other person in that family, and even among cousins and siblings. So it's very important if parents can, learn all of these things. Sex education is extremely important, and
Aisha,
yes,
to cut you short, you know that in the judgment part where you're talking about, it's something that a lot of families are guilty of. As the judgment, the comparing, look at your mates, this, that. Parents never fought themselves, I don't know if you've noticed the person, a parent will never admit that he or she was wrong in this upbringing and training a child a certain way. They just feel like, we've done our best, and every other result comes from you. But we forget that children are guided by what they see you do most times.
Right.
When the child feels like it's comfortable, that's why it's very important for the environment where you're raising your child. The environment where you raise your child can directly impact on that child.
Right.
Directly impacts on that child. Now, and down to knowing that a child have made mistake. Nothing kills as knowing that you're going to be judged.
Right.
From your family. Nothing can affect your mental wellness as knowing that you'll be cascaded for that mistake that you were not thoroughly aware of, that doing this could lead to this, and that will bring you judgments and cascading, and that will make people push you aside or mock you. I remember while I was in secondary school, right? A course, that would be classmate now, not classmate in secondary school. A classmate of mine got pregnant while we were trying to write WAEC. And
junior WAEC or senior
WAEC? Okay. And the topic was big, but then, because she wasn't in school for a while, and then she finally came in while in school, and then she told us that she had fibroid, but she was pregnant. A lot of us, as in what's it concerned, we're very innocent now. We did not even know. We started, oh my God, don't worry, you'll be fine, you're going to be fine, and everything. And then she wrote exams with us. And it was a few years later that I found out it was actually a baby and not
fibroid.
And not fibroid, as she said. And it struck my mind as to why someone would want to go that route, because you would not want to be judged among your peers. Because, look at us in secondary school now. If a lot of people have found out that that was actually pregnancy, that love will mock her and judge her and look at her a certain way. But because she just wanted to be a part of us and finish that exam and finish it and not having people look at her strangely, she rather say she was ill and that she's having a very serious illness, so that we can sympathize with her, and then she can write her exams and go. And now her baby is very big and well known, and I look at it like there's a lot that we ignore when it comes to bringing up. Yes, we know that there's no actual menu for bringing up a child, right? But the little things that would affect your child, because you know that going forward you cannot go everywhere with your child, especially when they start attending schools. You cannot tell what happens in school.
Right.
So, but you can believe and trust in your upbringing and what you've installed in that child, the level of discipline, the level of principle you've taught the child to grow with. You accept. Because A higher institution, there's no father, there's no mother, there's no uncle, auntie.
You're on your
You're
own,
literally
actually.
your own father, mother, auntie, uncle, sister, brother. So you're your own advisor and counselor and everything. So, but then if you're coming from a home that have equipped you with certain level of knowledge and discipline, you walk through that path. Even if they're not there to draw your ears and tell you, oh, this is late, you're not supposed to be outside by this time, or you're not supposed to mingle with this person, or you're supposed to read it, you naturally just tell yourself the truth. Why? Because you've been equipped with this knowledge. It's same thing with knowing when you see a prey, knowing when you see a predator, an abuser, a pedophile. Because you've been aware, you know that when someone looks at you a certain way, there's a woman in my worker area that's like, her daughter is 13 years old, but when you see her, you think she's 25 because of her body size.
Esther, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, you continue that story for us. Let's say the program Women's Corner on Citizen at 3.7 FM Abuja. Listening to the program Women's Corner on Citizen at 3.7 FM Abuja, and today we're discussing sex education. Esther, let's hear your story.
Yeah, like I was saying, so the woman at my worker area said her daughter is she is speaking from her own personal experience now, because she said she used to be like that. So her daughter is 13 years old, but when you look at her, you think she's in her early or late 20s because of her body size and then the maturity and all that. And she said that she's mindful of what she gives her daughter to wear, because she used to be a victim. Like when she was smaller, because she has a big body, she knew what she passed through coming up. And then she had to shush her mouth because she was a small girl. And at this point, she would not want her child to pass through that same feelings, because she knows that till now, she still dwells with it. Now, it took her own personal experience, right, for her to now know that, okay, at this certain age, that's why the fact that I have a daughter that is showing more maturity than her usual age, that will attract a lot of people to her, she should have been able to identify things to say to the child, that when the child sees a man looking at you strangely, making advances on you, you will know what to do and what to say. When someone, you have an uncle, okay, I think I've had this conversation sometimes when I ask when is that particular age when the man is not supposed to date a girl child anymore. I think I've had that conversation before, because I have people that feels like, oh, it's my child, there's nothing there. But then again, we've had fathers rape their daughters, right? We've had mothers rape their sons.
Right.
So is it just, it's not just the age, oh, okay, it's my child. When a child gets to a certain age, there are certain informations you dish out to that child to know. When an uncle is even baiting you, okay, let's say there's an uncle that is assisting in the house. There are even females, because of course we'll have those that, even though it's illegal in our society, we'll have lesbians amidst us, right? And we'll have those that are even gays. So imagine keeping your child under the care of a nanny, and the nanny is a lesbian, and you're giving your child to be, you give a nanny to your child, you give your child to a nanny to bait, and then the girl starts, touching her unnecessarily. If your child has been priorly informed by you that, okay, if someone touched you, be it a male or female, touched you in sensitive area, and like this, you should scream. Or if you cannot scream at that point, come and tell mommy, or come and tell daddy. You know that you've built a form of defense for that child. You mean that you've put the child's mind on alert.
Right.
Because when someone touches you like this, the girl just know that, oh, mommy told me that if someone touches me like this, I should come and tell her, it means it's bad.
Right.
You made the child feel safe. Because the child will be looking out for those kind of touches, those kind of advancements. So it's important. We don't neglect it. We don't see it as taboo. Sex education is not a taboo.
I think, sorry, Esther, not to cut you. I think it boils down to openness of the parents. I mean, parents should learn to listen to their children. Parents should learn to, understand their children. You don't shush them. Anything they bring to you, you feel like they say too much. Oh, I just come back. I'm just getting back from work, and I am extremely tired. I'm trying to make ends meet, and then instead of I want to come home and rest, and then you're here trying to give me one story or the other. I think it's very important where parents should listen to their children. Have that conversation with them, because I bet you there are a lot of parents that when you ask them when was the last time they've had one-on-one conversation with their children, they do not remember. I mean, they don't even know. Some have never had it. They just leave their children in the hands of the house helps, in the hands of siblings, in the house of relatives. That relationship between mother and child, that father and child is not there. So as a parent, I remember vividly you told me that anyone that tries to toast you at the point where always, telling your dad about it. So if parents can be open to listen to their children when you have anyone disturbing you anywhere on social media, anywhere, because some of them don't even have social media yet, like we said, teenagers, and someone is trying to, touch them inappropriately, it will be very easy for them to run home and tell their mommy, oh, this person tried to touch me in this place, and you said once anything like this happened, I should let you know. So, and then I think it will be easier. It will even reduce the rates at which, sexual abuse is happening and all of that. But then when parents don't have that time, they don't communicate with their children, it's also a very big problem. Before I allow you to say anything you want to say, to call out the phone number 090-3222-9797. I take it slowly, 090-3222-9797, or you can send us WhatsApp messages on 081-8222-2205, 081-8222-2205. We're discussing sex education, and you're listening to us right now from anywhere. Let's hear you. How was it like for you? Were you ever educated in terms of sex education? Did your parents ever educate you, anything at all on sex education? Or did you learn it outside? Did you learn it from your peer groups? Did you learn it in school? Where did you first learn about sex education? Or do you even know about sex education? Yes, like the number to call is 090-3222-9797, 090-3222-9797, or 081-8222-2205. That's the number to send those WhatsApp messages. Yes.
Oh, well, as I was saying, sex education is not a taboo. It is not an unwanted conversation. It is not something that when you have a child, it means you're spoiling your child. You're not spoiling your child. You're pre-informing your child of things he or she will eventually get to know about when he or she goes outside.
Right.
And it's better you teach them safe sex, tell them about sex education, than let them learn it from outside. Because learning it from outside will come with a lot of consequences.
Right.
Hearing it from outside doesn't just come with explanation, it comes with action. And by then it becomes very difficult for you to control. It becomes very difficult for you to manage. But when you have a good relationship with your child, that your child feels safe enough to have certain conversations with you, when someone makes advances at you, the child is at them, the child is very comfortable to come and tell you, oh, mommy, daddy, someone said this to me, an uncle said that to me, or your friend is asking me to come and see him in so place, because they trust you, because they know that you can keep them safe. But if you pass out as a judgmental parent, believe me, your kids will rather trust an outsider than you.
Right. And then talking about trusting an outsider, hello Aisha and Esther, my name is Blessing. I am sending message from Kobwa. This is a very interesting topic. I first heard about sex education from my neighbors. My parents were never there to teach me anything on sex education. Wow. In fact, I was at my neighbor's house one day when she was teaching her children about sex education, and she asked me to join. And so even when I first saw my period, it wasn't new to me because I already learned it from my neighbors, but from my parents, I didn't learn anything on sex education. Wow. Thank you so much, Blessing, for for that. So you see what we're saying. Some parents are not there.
Yeah.
She learned it from her neighbors. So if not because she had good neighbors that could, support her, for her to learn from the neighbors, because those neighbors also had children, it would have been something else entirely. Yeah. So you can also send us WhatsApp messages if you don't want to call on the number 081 82 22 22 05. 081 82 22 22 05.
Now you can imagine if she had not had the opportunity of having that conversation.
With her
A
neighbor.
lot of girls, our first period, we didn't know what it was, to be honest with you. A lot of girls, growing up, our first menstrual cycle, we didn't know what it was.
Right.
We don't even know how to. I think it was in my adulthood I began to learn how to calculate my menstrual cycle. Right? So a lot of things have gone wrong in the pattern when it comes to knowledge about things that are inevitable. A lot of things have gone wrong in the pattern that we get to know them. And when we get to know them, it comes with consequences. It comes with actions instead of just pure knowledge. I used to follow a series on one of these television. I think these people, they have like 11 kids. Two young couples that have like 11 kids. In one of the series, they had to have the sex talk with their girls and boys together. Now, the man shared took the boys apart, and while the mother and the grandmother took the girls apart and had this conversation with them. And it was insightful to know that the children were so interested in knowing those conversations. Wow, they may have heard one or two things outside. Right? But having their parent talk to them about it makes more sense. Why? Because there's a lot of clarity on things you don't know. You know, when you go out and you meet people, especially in higher institutions, you have people that will laugh at you for being decent. And you begin to question yourself if your choices are right. But when you have a home that tells you the value of decency and that makes you see the importance of you being decent and being intelligent while at it, it boosts your morale and confidence.
It does.
So when people outside are shading you for you kind of use your results to shush them up, right? You don't go fighting with them, but you show them the importance of decency with your own results. So you are like a reflection of what it means to be decent to them. That's why. Why? Because your parents took the necessary actions of informing you, of letting you grow with it. It's not a one-time conversation because children forget. We're 3 years old. Okay, what happened now that they are 5?
You need to remind them again. You need to remind them again.
In between the gap of 3 to 5 years, do you know what they have gone through in the hands of an uncle, auntie, teacher? Because a lot of teachers even molest the kids under them.
Right.
So these children are not safe anywhere. That's why they need to be pre-informed about a lot of things.
Very important.
They need to know about certain informations that you feel like, oh no, it's too early, they should not know about it. My dear, you better start telling them now. You better start telling them before someone else practically tell them. You remember that time that I had a topic on my program that the mother found out that the daughter had finished a pack of control pills, which was given to her by her father's best friend. Meaning she has been having sexual relationship with the father's best friend.
Without the parents knowing.
Was barely how old? She wasn't even a teenager yet.
Yes. I think she was around 12.
She was around 12, 13. And I imagine the knowledge of a mother knowing that your child has been defiled, and not just defiled, and your child have probably gotten used to having that person as a sexual partner, and then taking pills now to prevent pregnancy, and you didn't teach that child. But the child learned it practically.
So it will not be difficult for you to try to, anything you tell to that child, it will be
even
really
apart
difficult.
from the child, you as a parent, psychologically, how will you survive from that? How would you survive from that as a parent, knowing that you failed to equip your child for safety measures? I had a neighbor one time that when their children was about going to secondary school, she literally gave them control pills. It was weird at that time for us hearing that, okay, my mother gave me control pills and I was going to a higher institution. But then again, thinking about it, it's like, okay, you're going there and I cannot control you, right? I don't know what happens with you, but at least I know that I've tried my part. in teaching you these things, and then even giving you preventive measures in case of incasity.
So then you add prayers to it.
And you add prayers to it because, of course.
And Nigerians, of course, everyone knows us. We are prayerful.
But even as we are prayerful, we also neglect a lot of things. And they say, heaven help those who help themselves.
Right.
So if you don't help yourself, God will not come down and come and do it for you.
No,
you have to make an effort and allow God to multiply your efforts for you. So when you ignore the right paths to training your children, other people will help you train them.
In the wrong way, if you're not careful.
The results of the training may not be something that you emphasized, but of course, that is the reality of what you found. Why? Because you thought it was just okay for you to give birth to children, but not educate them about the dangers or people that they will meet. Mind you, you are aware of your child. Are you aware of the next person's child? No, you're not. Exactly. Children meet in schools and gatherings and playgrounds and parks and co. They interact with people from different backgrounds. So what best defense can you give your child is to equip your child with various knowledge about certain things, especially when it comes to sex and sex education. It helps them to be watchful. It helps them to be mindful. I can probably put very demure to it because, of course, the knowledge you give your children is not wasted.
At all. There's no knowledge that is wasted.
It's not wasted.
So we're hoping that parents are actually listening and, if, one way or the other pick. We also have a message from Aliu. My name is Aliu. I am sending this message from Is it Kukwaba? Kuba. Maybe he's trying to type Kuba. Okay. Yes, I love the topic. It's very interesting. Like Esther said, it's important to also educate the boys on sex education, not just the girls, because most parents in Nigeria feel that finally make it to educating children on sex education, do it only to girls. So like Esther said, it's very important to also educate the boy child. And when the boy child is educated, I believe it will reduce a lot of unwanted pregnancies.
Right.
Thank you so much, Aliu. That's a very nice one. And you are right about that. Hello, I'm your usual caller. I think your network is bad. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm enjoying the topic from the beginning till now that I'm sending this message. It's a very interesting topic, and the issue of sex education cannot be overemphasized in our society today. We're calling on parents to be open-minded and learn from this and also educate their children. For me, I am yet to get married, but once I do, I would make sure that my children have the best sex education that I can give them as a father. Thank you so much for sending us that message. Good afternoon. A very important issue that you've brought up today, and I am glad that you have decided to talk about it on radio. I hope to talk about. Okay, Leo is one of our regular. And it's a very important topic you have brought up today. I am enjoying every bit of it. Good luck and kudos to you. Thank you so much. Right now, you can't do half of it.
On a final note, before I finally give her, there's a girl I was under. I was thank God for my niece that is very smart, and then she observed this girl is barely 16, and because her father gave her a phone when she was coming to her house, so she had that access to that phone. And when we went through this girl's WhatsApp, things we saw. Things we saw. And at that age, she was already having a boyfriend that they were making plans on the day to kiss. Wow. At 16. So it took, thank God that someone, observed, and then we had to have those conversations and everything, and now it's been on the wrap. And that is things that it means that you cannot tell what children do in school, especially these days where there's a lot of leniency in our academic sector is not what it used to be when me and you were growing up. Right. There's a lot of changes. You see children at 10 going to school. Which school open gate for you? But then again, that is what is happening now. So there's a lot of things that parents will just know that it's not enough for you to give birth to a child and think, okay, I am a Muslim, I am a Christian, I'm very faithful in church, I'm very faithful in mosques and prayers, therefore my children are going to be decent. It's beyond that. If you don't have proper conversations with your children, mind you, you're going to get a result of what you never planned for. So please, parents, be watchful of the kind of people your kids keep around and pre-inform them about things like sex. It is very, very important. Thank you.
I think to add to what you said something. You just mentioned something about your niece having a friend that came around. Even if your auntie or your uncle are not there to guide your niece, you were there. So it doesn't have to be the mother and the father only.
Right.
Siblings, you can watch out for your siblings and know what they're doing every day and the people they mingle with and all of that from the early age. And also, sex education isn't about encouraging bad behavior. It's very important to know that it's about equipping young people with the knowledge to make informed, responsible choices. The statistics don't lie, and ignorance leads to unwanted pregnancies, STI, and sexual abuse. As parents, teachers, and community members, it's time to break the culture of silence. Let's educate, not stigmatize. Join us, next week on the program Women's Corner as we discuss another critical issue. Until then, please stay informed and stay safe. My name is Aisha Shaibu Badegi.
And I am Esther, but you can call me your mini celebrity.